Sage. Driving to my destination, and then we'll get rolling. Let's see if a couple more people come in. Peace. Pink pedal. Uh-oh, it's time for me to get a new dash phone holder for the dash. This thing keep coming up. We're gonna see if we can make it through this broadcast. This might be the last one with this old thing right here. But I mean, I got my money's worth out of it, so let's see. Shit. Got stuff trying to fall. So let everybody start coming in as soon as I get to my destination. We'll start. How everybody doing today? Peace, Black Butterfly. I can't see who else on there. I gotta wait till I park. I just know it's easy to see when you come on. I'm trying to make sure this thing don't topple over on me. I got books sliding. I got my little orange here. It's sliding. All right. About to. The heat has returned to Texas. I love it. Okay. I hope this thing is gonna hold up for me. So, you know how I have to go and lay out my thought process, and it takes me a minute sometimes, because I like to give the background for how I come up with some of these things I'm pondering. Let's see, swords in the house. Respect doing your thing, keep grinding. Damn, girls do entertainer. Oh, this CJ. I thought that was swords. Good on the. All right. I appreciate it. Each breach. What's happening? I think bond sack. I think that's but We might have a parasite. There might be a parasite. You know. Let's see. How do we? Yeah, I don't need. We ain't even gonna even bond sack. That ain't no real. Okay, so here's the deal. Follow me on this. There's a such thing that you all probably familiar with this called a shock jock. Let me try to put something up here. Hold on, I'm just thinking so that my phone, I'm gonna try to prevent my phone overheating in the sun. So I'm gonna try to put something, try to divert some of this sunlight coming in on it. Okay, where do I begin? Oh boy, we got all the. Okay, I need y'all. We got the parasites in. These last two comments, if y'all are somewhere where you can y'all just clean that up? These last two are some parasites. So we got, thank you. We've got this thing called shock jock radio, right? And I discovered the comedian Patrice O'Neal, it was after he had already passed. But I found a lot of his old radio appearances on this show called the Opie and Anthony Show. Now, Opie and Anthony would be what you would consider to be the second tier of shock jock radio hosts. Okay? They were like number 2 behind Howard Stern. Howard Stern was the leading shock jock DJ or radio host. Howard Stern got his start from a black dude named Petey Green from Washington, D.C. Now, what I did was I went and tried to pull his chart. There's no birth time for him, but I worked on pulling his chart, trying to rectify it. And so I have a time of like 4 something in the morning, but I think I'm gonna mess around with that because he passed away in Capricorn season. I want to say December or January of 1984. Now, what's significant about that, and when I get to a point where I can work on this, I'm gonna really investigate, because the fact that we have such a big transit that is occurring at this time. And what is it? It is Pluto has just recently entered Scorpio. In other words, I think Pluto began its transit in Scorpio in 84. And it's a very fast transit through Scorpio. And with him passing at that time, I said, okay. And just the way he presented himself, I said, okay, he might be a Leo rising. You know, peace wise, peace straight panther. So I said, he may be a Leo rising. So I got to go back and keep rectifying that chart. And I think, because with him being Leo rising, it would put Scorpio in the 4th, with Pluto moving through, and that might be, you know, the death signature. But my point is that around the summer of 1966, he got his break, where he did, he was hired by some AM station, I think in DC, and I think he would later co-hosts a show called Rapping with Petey Green, something like that. Now, I don't have all the deep, but I'm just dealing with the dates right now. So what's significant about 66 is that this is when SNCC starts, I think, the Student Nonviolent something Coalition. This is when the Black Panthers begin. This is when Gene Roddenberry puts out Star Trek. I also think 1966 may have been the year when Batman started. Okay? Keep a paperclip on that Batman, because I got a little funny little coincidence I want to come back to about Batman. So in 66, what's significant about that time? If you go back to, I did a video called Astrology of Black People 1960s, I think. And I talked to okay, I hope I'm back. I had a call come through. And thank you, Black Butterfly. In 1966, Pluto and Uranus were exactly conjunct at 15 degrees of Virgo. And so they were basically conjunct from like 65 to 67 or 68, somewhere in there. But it was exact in 66. Now, this is when he got his start. And in his chart, I'm trying to remember, when they conjoin is very close to his moon. His moon is in Pisces, so they would have been in an opposition to his moon. But I still got him to see what house it's going to be, and I got to keep rectifying that time. But either way, he would be the person that would be not Batman, the comic series Dum Dum. I'm talking about Batman the TV series. Talking about way off. So 66. I'm gonna get off. Y'all who are the what you call them? The moderators. I want y'all to put the heavy hand down on the comments. Get all the parasites out. You know. So, and I'm gonna stop looking, because I think people get on just break up the flow. So he is the start of the shock jock era. Okay? So here's the deal. You always use carbon to initiate life. And what is carbon? What is the root of melanin? It's carbon. Everywhere you go, there's a thing about going carbon free. Carbon free. Right? When the industrial era that we're still in the fourth stage of was initiated with coal, oil, talking about fossil fuels, right? And so the whole thing about AI is a statement saying we don't need that now. And we got to understand what's really being said is we don't need the people who are associated with those raw resources, i.e., building a world that is carbon free is saying trying to build a world that is melanin free. It's his high-end, high-stakes eugenics. So him being who he was, he had this rough past, he becomes the genesis, because carbon is a genesis element or chemical or compound. And he initiates this whole thing called the shock jock. And guess who he brings in under his wing? a dude named Howard Stern. And Howard Stern would be the equivalent of Batman. And Batman uses all these gadgets, right? He has no real power. He uses these gadgets, and he lives in the underworld. So it's a whole lot of things we could go with that. But I'm just gonna go on the surface. He has a carbon battery that he keeps beside him through the majority of his career, named Robin Quivers. It's a black woman. So she literally, her name is Robin, and she literally played the role in the simulation or the storyline. She plays the role of literally Robin. She laughs at all of his jokes. She chimes in. She's the yes woman. Okay. So this is the magic of Howard Stern. The magic of Howard Stern is that he came out of this carbon genesis, and then he has a carbon battery throughout the majority of while he's becoming this person who would get to the point where he would sign this deal that was unheard of in broadcasting. I think they signed him at some point to a $500 million deal, you know, in the early 2000s, I think, somewhere in there. Now, he had a guy on his show, used to be on his show, named Stuttering John. And Stuttering John was like a nomad who went around to different shows, and I think he was on the Tonight Show at some point, and just like a nomad, just not a lot of real talent, but he's a caricature, okay? Well, Opie and Anthony emerged after Stern, way years later, maybe 20 years after Stern had already got into the broadcasting business. And they were the next tier of shock jocks, but they were more like high school teenagers, pranks and stuff, and just taking things to another level. All right. Their career comes to a demise. One of them gets fired in 2014, and over the next few years, they start breaking up more and more. And now that they're completely dissolved, the team is dissolved. Shalom, G. And so now there's all this fallout. Everybody talking about everybody and this and that. He's a piece of garbage and blah, blah, blah. Now, so one of the personalities named Anthony Cumia, which is he's so fixated on black folk, like his level of racism is, it's astronomical, but he started his own media company called Compound Media, and then it kind of went through its demise like recently. So now you got all these other people who are doing something. I'm getting to my point here. They have created something called the Dabbleverse, and it was I think people who used to work with Cumia or something like that. They started making fun of this guy Stuttering John, and the comment was, he was being interviewed by, it was a girl who used to work for Cumia who interviewed him and said, well, don't you dabble in comedy every now and then? And he got upset about the word dabble. He took himself as a serious comedian. And what happened was, this spurred, and you got to think, this is during the whole medical thing where we couldn't move around. So what happened is a new thing emerged called the Dabbleverse. And the Dabbleverse is where people wait for other people to make content on their podcasts. And their podcast is strictly based on looking at other podcasters podcasting and critique and make fun of them. It's called the Dabbleverse. Now, Opie and Anthony started this because they used to do something called Jocktober. And Jocktober is where they would go in the month of October and find other radio jocks and make fun of their program about how, it wasn't funny and they're using the standard radio voice and all this and blah, blah, blah. So they planted the seed for making content out of just watching and critiquing somebody else's content. But all of this still ties back to Petey Green because he's the genesis. And this is why I said, when we get on our soapbox about, my melanin's popping and I'm, this is that magic and that, you got to understand, in the world of energy, it's just a high-powered tool. Just like when I leave this school in the morning, I see these construction workers and they got this saw that cuts through. Okay, hopefully I'm back. I looked at that saw and I said, you got to be skilled to use that thing because, cut your foot off, cut your hand off, one bad move. So we get jubilant over the possession of this tool, which means nothing if you don't know how to use it. You can have a William and Sonoma knife set that you spent $2,500 on, but if you don't know how to cook, then it don't matter that you got this zero freezer that you can put all this food in, and you got the stove that they have on top shelf and a top chef. It don't matter that you have all these tools if you don't know how to use them. So somebody else can use the tool remotely. And here this guy, Petey Green, what he initiated, which he didn't know how it was going to be used, and possibly they didn't know. But they saw the seed that was planted, and they said, okay, we're going to keep tinkering with this until it became, oh, let's put Stern in here, such and such and such, on his back. Then it leads up to, like I said, the Opie and Anthony, and it leads up to this thing called the Dabbleverse. Now, you got to think about everything in the grand scheme of things. For the past 7 years, Uranus has been in Taurus. Taurus is our values. So things of value have been exploding. We always think of Pluto as destroying things, but because it almost like it implodes, it causes just like sinkholes in your Pluto, things get pulled down. But Uranus can destroy things too by pushing things out suddenly, explosion. If we really think and go back over the last 7 years, just think how things have become devalued. Think about restaurants that used to be good, and you go, they're charging the same amount of money, and the service is not what it used to be. The food is not what it used to be. So they've lost value, but they're still trying to charge you like it still exists. We have seen the rise of podcasting like exponentially over the past 7 years. And we know it began before that, but it has just exploded over the last 7 years. But the value has declined because what has been happening with podcasts is mainly especially for celebrities, it is people sitting around talking about yesterday. That's what podcasting to a great deal is. Damn. Damn. Okay, am I back? Let me know. Give me a one or something if you got me back. Okay, thank you. Damn, these interruptions. So a lot of podcasts now are people sitting around telling stories. You know? Thank you. Thank y'all. So the Dabbleverse is similar because people are either reflecting on old stuff people did, or they're watching content that has already happened, which is still reflecting on something in the past, and commenting on it. Now I'm jumping around here, and there's a lot of meat still left on the bone that I could really expound on, or we could, and really investigate. But the absolute value of this is we have to look and wonder, is this just really giving us an indication that the planet Krypton has exploded? Now, what do I mean by that? Krypton was a previous world, right? And as it's meeting its demise, thank y'all ahead of me. As it's meeting its demise, there's a realization by this scientist Jor-El. Now note all the people on Krypton, their names end with L. And L is a word for God from a Hebraic standpoint. So this is a clue. Then you go back and look, well, who created this series or the story Superman? Clue. All right. And what happens is there's corruption on the planet. But Jor-El says that the bloodline must carry on. So he creates a capsule for his son Kal-El to travel in. And it's and so you look at it, that looks like an eyeball, oblong, a vertical eyeball, or an almond, and he places them in this capsule for him to travel to Earth in. Okay. Now, here's them trying to depict the planet exploding and the capsule leaving out of its orbit. Okay. And then they got the what the hell? Then they have the a newspaper clipping from Smallville Daily Lead. And it says, strange lights seen as he is landing on the Earth. Okay. So they do a great job of laying this out. What is this really saying, though? That Superman, who wears, these are the colors of Superman: blue, primary colors, red, and yellow. You put those together, they are brown. That's what they form, brown. Not by happenstance that they choose these colors. So he comes here, which means his time here on earth, his life represents something that had already lived and decayed. And this is just what remained from it. Carbon is decay because carbon is the same as soot. They are left over after something has been burned or has gone through some type of degradation or decay. And it leaves all this residue. You can't get rid of it. We used to burn coal. At least my grandmother. We burn wood. My grandmother burned coal. Coal burns really hot. I remember we'd go down to the coal yard to get coal in like these white burlap sack bags. We would pick up coal, and then you could go to the kindling yard and they had busted up wood, and you get those little pieces of wood. You start your fire with the kindling. Kindle means fire, kindling. And then we go and have somebody bring like a cord of wood on a truck, you know. So that's how we heated our homes growing up. My grandmother with coal, and we did it with wood, and we also, all of us used kerosene heaters too. But the coal is a fossil fuel. It's the remains of something. Okay? Now, the reason I said the year that Krypton exploded is because what we're seeing happening right now is giving us indication that we may, for some time now, have been living in a world that already ended. Now, it may sound crazy, but if you just look, comedians ain't funny no more. I don't care what nobody says. Cat Williams is not funny. Not like he used to be. He is not Pimp Chronicles Cat Williams. He is not Cat in the Hat Cat Williams. He was hilarious. He is not funny anymore. You know? Lavelle Crawford, is not funny like he was before he had the surgery. Sports are just, it's so obvious that it's scripted now. It's just everything has lost the essence of what we thought it was. And everybody was in such a hoopla over the Super Bowl and that halftime show was terrible. It was terrible. As a child, think about if you remember when we were little and, Whitney Houston singing the Star Spangled Banner, or real celebrities coming out and singing, like, I'm trying to think, did Michael Jackson did Prince? I want to say Prince did the halftime one time. I can't remember, but I do remember just that, those moments. I remember when Michael Jackson moonwalked across the stage. I remember that as a child, how I got chills. Them white socks, and he took that hat off and did like this. And we was like, whoa. We don't have that anymore. Nobody gives you that feeling. So we, in many ways, we are living in the valley of dry bones. And we maybe have just not realized it. We keep trying to resuscitate something that's gone. Oh yeah, Prince did. That's a fact. That's a fact. And I think the podcasting, now don't get me wrong, when I say this, I'm not saying this to be contradictory, because I mean we're all on in different ways online communicating and such. But even look at when it comes to like this type of teaching, metaphysical and stuff like that. It's something has happened. Something has happened. You know, there's a gulf. There's a regurgitation of stuff. You know, there is, but there's not a lot of breaking ground, exploring new ways of looking at things, you know. And we got to come to grips that we're living in on Krypton. Just prior to its explosion, or maybe we're on Krypton and it's already exploded. Now, in Kabbalah, and what the hell is Kabbalah? Nobody knows. Because it ain't a thing. I've been trying to figure out what Kabbalah is for years until I finally just said, it's nothing other than what the word tells you. The word, if the word itself tells you what it is, it's no less and it's no more. It is reception. And the structure of the tree of life is showing you what you're receiving. You're receiving something that comes in as a storm cloud. And you're trying to make sense of a storm cloud. Ayin soft earth. And you're trying to receive it. And if you received it in its full capacity, it would completely destroy your essence. So it then comes and filters until we can get a shard of it. But there is something in Kabbalah that says there's 4 worlds. And if my memory serves me correct, the 4th world is called Asaya. And they call it the world to come. And I've always wondered, well, what is the world to come? Where can I find information or literature on the world to come? And that's the secret. The world to come is based on yours and mine, my ability to create. The only way for a world to come is for you to create it. Why do we think there's always been such an attack on art and the artist? You must control the artist, and not just the visual artist, but all forms of art. The orator, the singer, the musician, the scientist, you know, the alchemist, it's all art. That's the number one assignment here, is to create. Be fruitful and multiply by creating. And if you stop creation, then you stop the world to come. We're in a quagmire now of just reminiscing. And we must be creators. We must be creators. We must, through the lens of our individual artistic expression. And don't be discouraged if you feel like you're not an artist. Don't think of it in a linear fashion. If you can develop a philosophical truth, that's an art. This is why in our world, the industrial revolution and era destroyed the significance of liberal arts. It's so much emphasis being placed on STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, and such. That's left brain, left brain, left brain. And they made the right brain something that is a joke. But liberal arts is how you give culture to society, to people. So this Dabbleverse and the reminiscing podcasts, you know, it is a symptom of a dying world, or a world that has already gone away. It's the symptom. And I'm not trying to discourage anybody from starting your podcast, your next thing, this and that. Please don't take what I say and generalize. You got to think nuanced when I'm talking, because I think nuanced. What I'm trying to say is why do trends emerge? That's what I'm trying to figure out and look at. Today I am wearing one of my other prototype shirts. Prototype because this is just how I made it for it, but the design is going to be bigger. But this shirt, I want to break down what this shirt is. One, I'm wearing the yellow today. This is a shout out to Roy Ayers. His album with Everybody Loves the Sun. I can't remember the name of the album. That whole album is high science, and he's got all that yellow on. So this is a shout out to Roy Ayers. But if you see here, this is a flame. And you see these are miner tools, coal miner tools, right? And you see this brother here's, this profile picture is depicting a coal miner. And at the bottom, let me give you some of this game here. At the bottom, I have the word Fechem, and it's spelled F-E-H-M. Fechem. That H is really a CH, and it's really a play on the Hebrew ket letter. Right? So let me tell you why Fechem is so significant. That term is a Sufi term, and it refers to knowledge. Fechem means knowledge. You know another thing it means? Coal miner. Coal miner. And so when Kal-El left Krypton, which the word crypt means death, coal, which consists of carbon, is the death of something that previously was. Melanin is the death of something that previously was. And it has to be resuscitated through alchemy. Through alchemy. The coal is resuscitated. The carbon that's in the coal is transmuted through the rubbing or friction, which is what Mashiach, the anointing, the rubbing creates friction. The friction then, in combination with the carbon, then invites fire that already existed in another plane into this plane. Okay? But carbon needs friction. Friction in one regard can be the two hemispheres of your mind. Friction. They literally have coitus with each other. And when they do, that is called the hieros gamos, or listen to this word in Hebrew, kule. Kule. If an Arab person tells you to eat, they say, cool. To a woman, kulu. Because cool means all, everything. So that's what consumption, consume, all. And we know that Arabic and Hebrew are sister or cousin languages. So kule in Hebrew, in Kabbalah, refers to the marriage, the holy marriage. And it adds up to 55. Where everything exists at once. When you combine those two together, everything exists. You create another world. You create another world. So this shirt is a reminder of what your mission is, to become the Fechem. And the Fechem means that you are a miner of cold. You are taking raw substance and you are elevating it. You are taking it through a process of evolution so that it will become its higher form. That's the magic that we must be about. We must be creators. Our world has us geared to be consumers. Consume. You get on TikTok, it's like, all right, y'all, I ain't gonna gatekeep. You know, I got my all new car water bottle. Yeah, y'all, it's on Temu. You can hit the shop button underneath. This thing make my water. I was drinking this and I lost 75 pounds drinking this water out of this bottle. For real, y'all. I mean, everything is set up for us. It's all about consuming. You know? But we must become creators. And yeah, we do have, it's a exchange. You gotta consume. All right, that's part of this. You must consume something. But the scales are too tilted to one side. We need to create. You must equally create. You must create just as much as you consume. Or in fact, you should create more than you consume. Your creation should outpace your consumption. Is it not written in your law, ye are gods, and what do gods do? They create. I have said ye are gods, but you will die like men. You will forego your power to be a creator. And you will act like a mere mortal and just consume. When you've been given the power and the authority to create the world to come. But instead, maybe we're waiting to see what world will be created for us. Thank you, Black Butterfly. Yes, your creation should outpace your consumption. So create. You must figure out a way to create. Some type of way. You got to be a creator. You got to create. And you must seed your consciousness into your creation. These designs, this is just one of my facets or ways of creating. Like, Wear your magic. Wear it. Wear it on you. While Neptune is in Aries, especially, and you are fusing with all of this different type of energies when we out and about, and whatever people carrying on them, wear your magic. Have it on you. I got mine on me. Never leave the house without it. Don't leave the house without your magical somethings. You know, I've traveled up and down the highway in this 16-year-old truck, right? Keep this in my glove box. I mean, my arm, my whatever, the console in the middle. You know, because now this may not be for you, but for me, I have an affinity for the energy of Ganesh. We vibe, right? And this is the remover of obstacles. So although life ain't sweet, it ain't like I'm just around here whistling Dixie, but because I've made the agreement with that energy in my subconscious mind that obstacles are removed, then it is what it is. You know? That's my agreement with that energy. When we have sidebar, when we have things like this, understand what this really means. It's in the Bible. This is Aya Asher Aya. I am that I am. So you take the statue and you identify the energy that it represents, and then you bounce your energy off of it back to you, because I am that, and that I am. It's just a mental thing. This means actually nothing without understanding the symbolism. It's not like this thing is the juice. It is me giving the juice to it through my understanding of it, and then I pull it back to me. I am that I am. So we got to create. Create, create, create. Don't just settle for waiting. Create. When in doubt, create. When in doubt, create. So y'all let me know what y'all think about this design. You know, it's gonna be in it'll be different colors and whatever, but yeah, that is the carbon, the Coleman, the Carbonary brothers is another name that refers to this concept of Fechem. And the Fechem is also giving you some of the secrets of Abu Fihamat. Fihamat or Fekhamat. Fehim. Abu Fihamat. Or the Baphomet. Abu, father. Fehim, Fihim, father of knowledge. So when you understand knowledge and you let it infuse with you, then ever said, what's your job? I run a guillotine. I'm a guillotine operator. You should come check it out. What size shirt you wear? What's your neck size? So yeah, create. That's all I got. 720astrology.com. Know the stars and know yourself. And of course, stay down till you get up. And when you get up, stay down. Thank y'all. Thank you, moderators, for your parasite cleansing. I appreciate it. And thank all of you all, the rest of y'all, for chiming in, your attentiveness, all the serious folk. We got all the, pathogens try to come in, but it's all good. I'll catch y'all on the top side. Peace.